We spend so much energy chasing the big moments, weddings, promotions, milestone birthdays, assuming that those are the ones that define our lives. But often it's the quiet, everyday experiences that leave the deepest impression. Today, we'll explore why the ordinary moments quietly shape the life we end up living. And I'll guide you through a simple exercise to notice and savor them in your own life.
Welcome to the Live Right Now podcast with me, Alan Haw. This is where mindfulness meets everyday life. Thanks for joining me for this reflection on living with intention. Let's talk about how we can live right now.
Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Alan, and welcome to Live Right Now. This week marks my 11th wedding anniversary with my wife, Laura. Anniversaries naturally make you pause and reflect. It's easy to focus on the big milestones, the wedding day, trips, celebrations, the obvious highlights. Those moments matter, but when I think about 11 years together, the moments that surface most aren't the grand ones. They're the ordinary moments, the small routines, the shared habits, the things that repeat day after day without fanfare. At the time, they seem inconsequential, almost invisible. But over the years, those quiet, ordinary moments quietly become the life you remember. And when you start noticing them, they can change the way you experience every day. For instance, most mornings these days, I'm the last one up. So before I get my day started, I take a minute to make the bed. It's just a small gesture, but it's become part of the rhythm of our life together. A silent way of saying, I care. Or evenings at dinner time, we've made it a habit to binge a show that we enjoy together. We've enjoyed everything from This Is Us to Bridgerton to Kim's Convenience. Right now, we're working through something on the lighter side called Suburgatory. The shared experience, the comments we make along the way, the little jokes that emerge, they all quietly add up to connection. But why do these small moments stay with us? And what changes when we start noticing them on purpose? We assume that life's most meaningful moments are the big ones, the wedding day, the promotion, the milestone birthday. But that assumption misses the truth. Like John Lennon famously said, life is what happens while we are making other plans. What really shapes a life is everything in between. The daily routines, the shared meals, the small acts of care that repeat so often you barely notice them. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect. The more we're present with something or someone, the deeper our connection becomes. It's in those quiet moments that trust and familiarity grow. When you take a few seconds to make the bed for someone, laugh at the same joke, sit together over a simple meal, you're adding invisible threads to the tapestry of your life. What feels routine in the moment is often shaping connections in ways we don't fully see yet. So, the next time you think nothing of sharing a mundane moment, remember, the moments that feel ordinary now are often the ones that shape your life later. And we live in a culture that celebrates highlights, social media, movies, the stories we tell ourselves. They all emphasize dramatic, visually impressive moments. That engagement, that graduation. I mean, you can see the celebration when you got the promotion, right? These moments are important, but they're only a small fraction of life. Most of life unfolds in the quiet spaces between milestones. The morning routine, the bedtime ritual, the casual conversation while doing chores. And relationships, small interactions repeated over time build connection. Micro interactions. Individually, they may seem insignificant, but when you put them all together, they define the relationship. Sometimes the moments that shape a life are nearly invisible at the time. When I met my wife, Laura, her youngest son, Andre, was 6. So, like any adult meeting a child for the first time, I wanted to make a good impression. So, having experienced impressing the kids at my church with magic tricks during the children's sermon, I pulled out a simple but cheesy coin trick, the famous pull a coin from the ear trick. At the time, it was just a silly, fleeting moment. But years later, Andre had to present a biography book report for school, and he had to do it in costume. And who did he choose for this report? Harry Houdini, complete with toy handcuffs. That small, ordinary interaction had stuck with him in a way that I never expected. At the time, it felt like nothing. Looking back, it can seem like a small moment that stayed with him, I think, and shaped how he saw me. It reminded me that the moments that shape relationships rarely feel important at the time. Those routines quietly reinforce our life together, from making the bed to sharing evening shows to the many small gestures that signal care. Those repeated actions are the building blocks of a lasting connection. They may feel mundane, but over time, they accumulate into a life that is rich and meaningful. Even planning our anniversary reflects this principle. Laura and I had talked about going back to the restaurant we had had our first date for dinner. It's a really nice place with a lot of meaning to us. Felt symbolic, but it didn't really feel like who we are now. Instead, we celebrated at Olive Garden, our go-to place for bottomless soup, salad, and breadsticks. It's ordinary, familiar, and comforting. Somewhere along the way, comfort became more meaningful than symbolism, and that told me something about the life that we've built. If ordinary moments shape us this much, why are they so easy to overlook? They don't feel important while they're happening. Big moments announce themselves. They come with anticipation, preparation, sometimes even anxiety. You know when you're in one. Ordinary moments are different. They unfold quietly. They don't ask for attention. They simply happen while life moves forward. And because of that, we often assume that they don't matter. But over time, these small repeated experiences create something powerful. They build emotional familiarity. They create a sense of rhythm and predictability in our relationships. Think about routines like making the bed, sitting down together to watch a show, or returning again and again to the same simple restaurant. None of these moments are dramatic. None of them would make a highlight reel for sure, but they do something just as important. They create continuity. They tell us in subtle ways that we belong to something ongoing. And here's the part we don't always realize in real time. We never know which small moment will become meaningful later. A quick magic trick for a 6-year-old might turn into a school project about an escape artist. A casual habit might become a memory that represents years of shared life. Ordinary moments are like threads. One by one, they seem insignificant, but over time, they weave together into something strong enough to hold memories, identity, and connection. When we begin to understand this, we start to see everyday life differently. We stop waiting for meaning to arrive in big events. Instead, we begin to recognize that meaning is already present, quietly unfolding in the routines and interactions we might otherwise rush past. And that realization opens the door to something important. If ordinary moments are shaping our lives, whether we notice them or not, what happens when we start paying attention to them intentionally? We think life's defining moments are the big ones, but most of life is ordinary. And those ordinary moments matter more than we realize. They quietly shape our connections. Psychology tells us that consistency often matters more than intensity. Small, repeated interactions are what create lasting connection. So when you sit down for dinner, share a laugh, or simply make the bed, remember, the life we live is quietly built in the ordinary. Writer Robert Brault captured this idea beautifully when he said, "Enjoy the little things, for one day you may look back and realize they were the big things." What we repeat with care becomes what we eventually call a meaningful life. And by now, you may be thinking about your own routines, the small moments that quietly fill your days. The big moments are memorable, yes, but rarely the ones that sustain us. Instead, it's the moments that quietly accumulate, the small acts of care, the shared routines, the familiar rhythms. That's what shapes our relationships and our days. So, how do we stop passing by these moments that could become our fondest memories? Think about your own life. What small moments repeated over time have shaped your relationships? What gestures do you routinely overlook? Noticing these will shift your perspective and deepen your daily experience. Here's a practical exercise you can try for yourself. I call this the ordinary moment practice. Pause and notice. Pick one ordinary interaction, a routine at home, a small gesture from someone that you care about, or even a moment of stillness just in your ordinary everyday. Reflect on it. Ask yourself what this moment says about your life or your relationships. Then savor and record that moment. Take a mental snapshot or jot it down in a journal. Try this once a day over the next 5 days. Over a week, repeat this with 3 to 5 small moments, paying attention to the rhythms of your daily life. This exercise helps you see that the moments we often overlook are actually building the life we love. By intentionally noticing them, you strengthen connection, gratitude, and presence. The older I get, the more true that feels. The big moments matter, but the life we build is made in the quiet, ordinary moments. The mornings, the shared routines, the conversations at the end of the day. They may not look extraordinary in the moment, but over time, they quietly become the life we love and remember. Over the years, there's a song that I've come to think of as our song that reminds me of what really matters. It's Better Together by Jack Johnson, and there's one line that sums up how I know what to look for. It's always better when we're together. Thanks for sharing a few minutes with me today. Until next time, make the most of every moment, and remember to live right now.
Thanks for being part of Live Right Now. If you like what you've heard, I encourage you to like and follow the podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration today. Join the conversation on our Facebook page or email me your thoughts at the address in the show notes. I'm Alan Haw. Until next time, make the most of every moment and remember to live right now.